Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Perspective. In this month of the women, we are celebrating women and the most dynamic and powerful women in our community. It does please me to be running the series during Women's Month. We're going to be talking with Advocate Shameemah Salie. She is with Al Jamaa and she's here to talk to us about From Thread to Thriving, Al Jamaa's Women's League relaunch. So let's get talking to a dynamic, powerful woman in our community. With the greatest of respect and honor, I welcome to the show this morning Advocate Shameemah Salie. Assalamu alaikum to you. Welcome to the program. And what a pleasure to be talking with you this morning. Welcome.
Assalamu alaikum, Auntie Julie, and to all the listeners. Indeed, it's both humbling and an honor to be on this show this morning with your beautiful self.
Okay, so it is in celebration of Women's Month. It's a big time in the lives of us women, but let's also not, be misled by the fact that we only celebrate women in the month of August, which is Women's Month. Let's talk about this amazing initiative, the Al Jamaa Women's League relaunch. Also, for those who may not know, what is the Al Jamaa Women's League and what role you play within our community in terms of empowerment and upliftment. And also, just to add, it's not really in the month of August that everybody steps up their efforts to celebrate women. This type of work is 365 days a year. Mm-hmm. It just carries on because there's just so much to do.
That is very true, Auntie Julie. It is 365 days a year and it's basically 24/7. Women just has something very special. We are resilient. We are able to do so much things and we are nurturers as well. So Al Jamaa is 18 years old, but the woman in Al Jamaa has been working for all of that 18 years and longer. And the reality is that we realized that a foundation was needed, a structure was needed to bring all these amazing ladies together and to plan forward. So the Al Jamaa Women's League was established in New Horizons, Pelican Park in 2023. It is a dedicated structure which addresses and finds expression, especially in addressing the needs of both women and children. It is there to promote gender equality, to ensure active political participation for women, and to advocate for issues that's impacting on both women and children. Our reality that we're facing is that gender-based violence is still very real and on the increase in our country and globally. Crime, economic injustice, unequal pay, lack of opportunities, education and skills continues to plague especially women. Al Jamaa encourages and assists women to form cooperatives. We've done so much work in our communities. We've formed the Peanut Butter Cooperative, and that was done through our president of Al Jamaa, Malatuli, of the Women's League. We've done sewing skills, supplying of sewing machines to various communities here, both in Cape Town and in Umzinto. When we have some of our males who are also actively involved in assisting in the upliftment and empowerment of women. So we've got Asghar Khan in KZN. We've done things of removal of fences in Nantes, in Paarl, which was affecting especially the women and the elderly, where the farm owner was basically holding people in a certain section and they didn't have access to schools, to medical, etc. That had to be done. Al Jamaa was on the forefront of that. In the party, we are currently busy, obviously, with the relaunch as well. We are busy processing and rescuing in KZN a vast area of sugarcane fields, which is on the brink of extinction. And if we can recover that, we can ensure hundreds of women have employment. We are further so busy in supporting small markets, entrepreneurs. We support local and we encourage people to support local in South Africa and in our communities. Our Al Jamaa female activists are on the ground in the community. They are responding to floods, to fires, assisting in feeding communities, clothing, educating, providing skill sets to the community, utilizing our personal skill sets, and providing services free of charge in our communities. We respond to those in need of support due to illness, and we on the forefront of assisting our cancer survivors and those who are in need. We've responded to elders. Our activists are on the ground. We've got Faika Ahadin, which responded to the long queues at the Sasa. And as you know, we have the Deputy Minister, Honorable Hanif Hendricks, who is also the president of Al Jamaa. And we've been giving him a very hard time, our woman. And our Deputy Minister, within days, responded and went out to these different areas we were speaking about in the early hours of the morning, and has been assisting with the queues to create the speedy queues so that our elders don't have to be sitting long in these queues. But we're still sitting with frustrations of elders not having been paid yesterday. And he's responding to that call as well. But these are activists that we have on the ground in the Al Jamaa Women's League who is addressing so many concerns. Now, with the relaunch, we are also, Auntie Julie, I don't know if many of our people know, but Bonteheuwel is an area in the Western Cape where many of our people were thrown and discarded in the early 1960s. I mean, myself, our family, 1962, we were moved to Bonteheuwel because of apartheid and us being thrown out of District 6, etc. So this was one of the first areas of apartheid. And we are having an event in this particular area to host and to give recognition and certificates to 100 women. And this is through the Women's League, through our Deputy Minister, our President of Al Jamaa, as well as Maulana Fortune of the area. We need to recognize the phenomenal work that women is doing in our communities, from feeding, clothing, responding. We're multitasking 365 days a year. Not only is the woman looking after having to work, but they're also looking after their families and other families. The skills and the abilities of women are just resilient. It is phenomenal. And we have to recognize these activists that is basically making changes in our community, both on a local front as well as international. I'm sure many knows that our Al Jamaa women, they are also on the forefront of the activism for Palestine, Kashmir, DRC, and the marginalized, not just in our country, but the marginalization that is happening, and oppression and genocide that is happening on a global scale. So we are extremely active, and I know women are the backbone of our society. And they are resilient. And we were thinking about Women's Day and the theme for Women's Day. A resilient economy. What does it mean, Auntie Julie? It means legal and policy changes that is not discriminatory, investment in education and skills development. It is there to address these social norms and imbalances and to promote access to justice and access to infrastructure, just to mention but a few. So it is really, really vast.
Absolutely amazing. I can't even begin to comprehend how one party and the Women's League of that party, which is Al Jamaa, is able to address so very many different issues within our community and beyond. And alhamdulillah, you've touched on the genocide in Palestine as well. And I can see it's a cause close to your heart because you've donned the Palestinian kafia, alhamdulillah for that, to continue showing our collective support for the Palestinian cause. But let's come back closer to home. And apart from the political struggles, and I guess, you will probably respond by saying politics is intertwined in our everyday lives. Anything and everything we do or say is all about politics. And if we can get that part right, then perhaps, inshallah, our lives will be much, much easier. What I'd like to touch on, Shameemah, is let's first start about, you've spoken about so many areas that impacts on our lives, not only women, but men and children as well. We know the biggest challenge right now is youth unemployment. Has Al Jamaa perhaps addressed or is addressing that situation? And then very particularly for women, because once again, women are on the back foot regarding unemployment and other such issues.
No, absolutely. Look, I know with Al Jamaa, I think that one of the massive things that has been done is that when we had the party list out for national government, we actually made sure that we have women and youth on that particular party list. So even though we never made like maybe all that much numbers, but we increased greatly, we've got a young lady by the name of Ramla who forms part of both our youth and has also been employed in the DSD office by the president of Al Jamaa, which is also allowing exposure. So we are creating opportunities for the youth to come forward, as well as, through the skills development, through the sewing, through so many other aspects. But it is for our youth also to step forward and take these opportunities that we are providing to them. We have several youth that is currently working alongside councillors, alongside the MP as well. Even myself, I pulled in a young lady as well as, an assistant. And we encourage our youth to actually step forward, come towards us so that we can educate them. We provide, whether it be a voluntary service, because many of our youth can't even get a skill set on their CVs. So when you are volunteering, for example, or if you are willing to work with a MP or a councillor, that also goes onto your CV. But we need businesses also to step forward, Auntie Julie, because Al Jamaa is a small party with a massive heart. But we need our, like I said, keep it local, keep it within the community, keep it within so that we can create that job opportunity. Step forward and say, I have a business, or I would like to sponsor the party with X amount, and we can create more job opportunities. We're looking at employing about 100 individuals in the next space of the few months, but to work within the political party structures. But that is limited to funding that we secure. But we want to create this job
I'm
opportunity.
sorry to interrupt you, Shameemah.
Sure.
We need to go for a break. Let's
Sure.
take that break and come back and continue this very important discussion regarding Women's Day, opportunities and challenges. Welcome back. We're celebrating women in this month of August, which is Women's Month. My very special guest this morning, a woman in her own right, a very strong woman in her own right, and that, of course, is Advocate Shameemah Salie. She's with the Al Jamaa Party. We're talking about the relaunch of the Al Jamaa Women's League and what it is that they have planned very specifically for this month. So welcome back, Shameemah. And you're going to talk to us about the relaunch, but let's also touch on two other very special issues that impacts on our communities, not only in the Western Cape or South Africa, but globally. The one is the GBV issue. What is Al Jamaa doing regarding addressing GBV? And I should imagine it does mean mass scale awareness in whatever form we decide that we're going to tackle the problem. And the very well-known story of the notorious drug dealing and drug addiction on the Cape Flats. And I guess globally, we can't just focus on the Cape Flats, but what sort of initiatives is Al Jamaa perhaps focusing regarding these issues?
I think many of people don't properly know that I'm a former state advocate, and I've had lots of work that I've done on both drugs and gender-based violence, because I was a sexual offences prosecutor, so a specialist prosecutor in that particular area, dealt with a lot of drug matters, etc. So with regard to this particular aspect, Auntie Julie, on a national government front, when I was a former member of parliament, we were dealing with it. And currently, current member of parliament, as well as our president of the party, is also dealing with these particular matters. Our president of the party actually has got a program that specifically relates to men and young males, as well as the drug section. So education is going to be, obviously, it's vital on a grassroots level, but With regard to drugs and gender-based violence, sadly, many a times it comes back to our social economic circumstances. And if our social economic circumstances is not going to change, it comes back to the situation that we spoke about earlier with regard to youth unemployment. But youth unemployment is not the only problem that we're sitting with. We are sitting with a rippling effect of unemployment that is actually also going up until the people of age between 45 and 60. And those are crucial ages where kids are still at school, still studying, etc. It is vital that as communities, one, that we tackle, and as Al-Jamaa as well, we need to tackle the situation of unemployment. We've got to tackle the situation within our communities to create places of safety for those impacted by those who are utilizing alcohol and drug substances. And Auntie Julie, we are forgetting a very critical aspect, and it seems to be a continuous thing. The problem surrounding gambling is also a issue that is impacting our people on a large scale. And it's another aspect, a social ill that has to be addressed. We need to educate on the ground, that's the one thing, create the employment opportunities, create the places of safety, and we also have to find means and ways of ensuring that there are more places to help those who are dependent on gambling, on drugs, on alcohol. All these ills are having a rippling effect on crime in our country, and the type of drugs that we are seeing on the market, and how the other aspect is the justice system. Our justice system is failing us because the criminal comes in by the one door and it's out by the other door, and the drugs continue to flow, and the gender-based violence continues to happen. Because how often are we finding that a rapist or a perpetrator of gender-based violence is arrested, charged, and out on the streets roaming for the next prey? So it is not something that we can look at in isolation. We're going to have to look across the board and work with several stakeholders in order to effect that change. And then if we think about it as Al-Jamaa and our Women's League, each of us within a specific community, we're concentrating and focusing on a particular area, but we need more eyes and ears and people to come forward in order to assist. We need to take, each person has a responsibility to start taking action and taking responsibility for every community that they are living within. We are finding too often, being on the Cape Flats, going into the areas, we are finding too often people are protecting the perpetrators of gender-based violence and of crime, as well of drug addiction, etc. And we cannot keep going this way. We're becoming our own worst enemies in our communities. But if we go into those communities and we educate people and we provide them with assistance, I am noticing the change. That is the reality. But it feels like you're putting out so many fires at one go, and a few people can't do it alone. We need more people to step up and to assist. And this education is going to have to start within the home and within schools as well. And the support structures that is needed and the counselors that is needed. This is something that we as people in the political sphere has to fight on all levels of government to ensure that systems are effectively going to be put in place, Auntie Julie.
All I can say is that the justice system's loss is our gain by you having joined Al-Jamaa, because I think you really and truly have the heart to take on all of these challenges impacting on society as a whole. And we also know, we spoke about drugs and GBV, and we do know that they're interlinked, sadly. So we need to wipe out the drug situation or the drug problem in our country, in our communities, in our homes, so that we have more stable, solid families going forward. And only that way will we be able to have stable communities and stable societies as a whole. It is Women's Day, and you are an absolutely powerhouse of a woman, and we salute you, and I'm so pleased that you are on the show this morning. We've touched on very important matters, but the all-important matter as far as Al Jamaa is concerned is the relaunch of the Women's League, and also very particularly your latest initiative, which will address women at grassroots levels. Please talk to us about that.
Okay, so I have touched base on the relaunch a little bit earlier. I was jumping the gun on you, Julie. But so the relaunch is happening on Sunday, the 10th of August, and it's going to happen in Bonteheuwel, in the area that I've noted that, was one of the areas that is so interlinked with regard to apartheid. And we're going to be honoring 100 females who is doing phenomenal work in the communities. They will be getting certificates and they will be recognized, and this will be happening on Sunday.
Subhanallah. Can I just take you in a slightly different direction? Yes, you have answered that question, but what about the women in the KZN? You also touched a little bit on that in the sugarcane fields, how impoverished they are, and what is this great initiative that you're introducing?
Okay, so the initiative in KZN is the sugarcanes, which, it has basically become almost extinct. And Al Jamaa is endeavoring in order to assist with bringing back that sugarcane and ensuring that the woman in KZN is able to work in this sugarcane sector. This will be establishing about 3,000 jobs for women in the KZN region. So this is a huge undertaking, and I'm sure that we're going to welcome everyone who wants to assist in re-establishing the sugarcane land, and as well as to establish this job opportunities for women who used to be working in that particular area. And that is the exciting part of it. But that is not the only aspect in the KZN region. We also have the region of Umdoni, where we have Asghar Khan, who is also relaunching the sewing and the materials being provided to women to provide them with the skills and the development of sewing as well. So that relaunch is also happening. So KZN is going to be quite busy, quite active, and quite abuzz with the relaunch that is happening in the particular area.
Okay, it's almost time for us to wrap up. Shameemah, it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you this morning. And when you talk about reviving the sugarcane fields, it takes me back to the days of the indentured laborers being brought to Natal. And that's where the majority of, I guess, the Indian community here in South Africa can trace back their roots to. So this is really a very important initiative, and very especially if we can get more than 3,000 jobs going and empower women to take back their rightful positions in their homes, in society, in community. So I can't wait to see this happening very soon. But we do honor you, dearest advocate Shameemah Salie, for your stance on women's rights, people's rights, activism, and making a real difference. Shukran so much for being with us on the show today, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all of your efforts. Assalamu alaikum to you.
Shukran, Auntie Julie. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and shukran for having us on the show.
Absolute pleasure. That was Advocate Shameemah Salie from the Al Jamaa Party talking to us about Women's Day and celebrating women, powerful and amazing women in our communities and in our society, women that we often forget. This is the time to recognize them and to make them realize the importance they play in our lives and in South Africa as a whole.